Well, it took until stoppage time. It took until the Uruguayan Darwin Nunez. It took 35 shots. But in the end, Liverpool Football Club 2 and a very resilient Brentford 0. That means that at the moment of taping, Liverpool remain obviously top of the table, 7 points clear with a game in hand after today's games. A remarkable way to win, I guess, but maybe not a remarkable way to play. Luis Miguel Echegaray with my friend Janusz Michallik. Janusz, give me your initial reactions. Liverpool get the 3 points, but it wasn't all beautiful football for 90 minutes.
Yeah, you know how we always say that, this is the game, or this is a time that we may look back on, if somebody wins or loses. It has that feeling, doesn't it? Because up until that time, I think the tone of voice, my tone of voice and yours, and the topic of conversation could have been different, right? Why are Liverpool giving fuel to Arsenal and others, and Nottingham Forest, whoever else may want to fight for the title? But the one thing that we do know is that Liverpool has that quality to play until the end. Sensational 2 goals from a player that, who knows, may not be here much longer, although, after goals like these, so much talk about Darwin Nunez perhaps moving elsewhere. Who knows if that's true or not, but Liverpool coming out big and now putting pressure on Arsenal, who are facing your Villa. So that's going to be important. I think we're going to continue like this, but certainly this wasn't the Liverpool that I expected at this time of the season. You grind, LME, and you get that result, and we forget everything because they've done just about everything in terms of statistics and ultimately found 2 excellent goals. But I still think there's room for improvement. No questions about that.
Yeah, let's stick with that point, because you began with complimenting the very truthful fact that these are the kind of matches that you need to win a Premier League title. Sometimes you're going to play ugly, and sometimes you just need to grind and get those 3 points. But as you rightly mentioned, today was a struggle, and it was their first victory in the league of the year, by the way, obviously after drawing in the past 2 matches in the Premier League. So let's focus on those things that you looked at today that you didn't necessarily like, because it wasn't that, because against Nottingham Forest, Janusz, Forest were holding on. They were very resilient defensively.
It was very similar. It was very similar.
Today I did see more offensive threat from Brentford in the latter stages. What did you see today that was similar from the Forest game, perhaps from the United game, and something else coming into it?
I think, it was, to a degree, it was identical, because if you remember against Forest, second half was deluge, really, of Liverpool. But they were, of course, in a situation like this, susceptible to counter, right? Vulnerable in that sense. And I saw that against Forest as well. But, obviously, Liverpool only want to win. This is not a team that's going to, maybe stay balanced, although you probably need that, right? Because, look, one of those counters and all those statistics go out the window. So you do have to be balanced. You do have to be disciplined and make sure that you have players in the back. Although, as good as Mbomo is, right, and he's very, very good, and we saw as well. The recovery pace of Konate.
He was done by the end.
Exceptional. And Trent Alexander-Arnold, if you remember, in the second half late, another one.
Good game.
A great recovery. So, but you can live or die by that. But I don't think this is the time. My bigger issue is Liverpool realizing, what is it going to take to do that? Is it going to be these kind of games where you wait till 91st, 89, 90? No. I think Liverpool has got to set themselves up for games much, much better. If you look at a lot of the games in all competitions, this is not maybe the Klopps, first 15, 20, 30 minutes where they really put you on the tremendous amount of pressure, being home or away, maybe get that early goal and kind of see that through. I want to see that. I didn't see for a while now urgency, intensity, that fight and scrap and hunger, or maybe I should even say anger, because that's what in the first half. Didn't see it against Forest, didn't see it other games. I didn't see it today as well. And then it becomes a little bit of a scrap, because you look at Premier League now and everybody can play football, right? Everybody can hurt you and play football. We used to say that wasn't true. Last season, this season, and for the seasons to come, these teams are playing, and all teams pretty much are fully capable of beating you. Even Saints, right? You saw Southampton against, what was it, Manchester United. Everybody will play football. So that's something that I think Liverpool has to do much better, because think about it, LME. This is an incredible opportunity for them. If I were Liverpool, I forget about FA Cup, I forget about League Cup, I forget about Champions League. I would just want to win this Premier League at all costs, because in the last decade, I don't even more than that, Liverpool has not done enough of that. And this is an opportunity they didn't count on. This is a chance to go level with Manchester United, of all teams, on 20 Premier League titles. They've had that one. Remember, the fans didn't see it. This is that opportunity. And they cannot give fuel to the likes of Arsenal, as I said, or anybody else, because this could have very easily been a third Premier League draw on the trot. And you know how everybody feels and how I feel about draws, right? I mean, they're not good. At the very least, spread them out, not like Liverpool, because that could have been a third straight Premier League draw.
Yeah, and that was essentially Arne Slot's message prior to this match, saying pretty much, the focus is on the game right in front of you, focusing on what's ahead, and the Premier League, as you mentioned, being a massive challenge. But, being the fact that it took this long for them to get a win after drawing with Nottingham Forest and Manchester United, as you point out, it's going to be interesting to see how things develop as the Champions League returns and other competitions. But let's focus individually for a second here, Janusz. We'll talk about Darwin Nunez in a second. You mentioned him already, maybe other players. Mohamed Salah, he was quiet against Nottingham Forest. He was quiet today, comparatively to what we have seen throughout the season.
Yes.
Any reason why?
Yes. I mean, this is 4 games without a goal right now, right? In all competitions. Correct. For Mohamed Salah. And as Salah goes, so does Liverpool, right? Those easy wins that you see, very much when he's on the ball. And look, I've looked at the touches, and they weren't any different from other players like Diaz and maybe Hakpo and all that. But I just think that having a player like Mohamed Salah, who relies on confidence, on touches, in the first halves of every game, I would just find him all the time. Let him get those touches, right? When you're as technical as he is, when you want to have somebody invested in a game, someone like Mohamed Salah, who will score for you and who will create chances out of nothing, I think you need to go to him. And I don't know if you noticed in the first half, because I did actually pay attention to that. Didn't know you're going to ask me. He wasn't seeing it. Hakpo was making a lot of bad decisions. And I think Luis Diaz will tell you that as well, because a couple times Hakpo should have done that. But it seems to me that Hakpo, especially in those transitional moments, he was on the ball a lot. McAllister, who had an off game, Gravenberg, those two, by the way, maybe we'll get to them later, look a little bit tired. But I just think that early in the match, if I were in the center of that midfield, if I have a chance to find Mohamed Salah first, I do it, regardless of where he is on the pitch, regardless if he's in a goal-scoring situation. I just think that the game needs to be ran through him rather than away from him.
Yeah, and let's talk about Darwin Nunez. All right, coming in after suspension, coming in late. You mentioned, of course, reports of maybe Arne Slot and Liverpool not knowing necessarily what to do with a Uruguayan. Maybe, they'll listen to offers, whether it's now or in the summer. I'll bet not even considering or talking about the other issues, which, we've already talked about it, the contract situations between Virgil van Dijk, Trent Alexander-Arnold, and Mohamed Salah. But Darwin Nunez, talk to me about him, because Mohamed Salah has said he is the best strike partner he's ever had. Like, that's how much he relies on the Uruguayan. Is that maybe just to motivate Darwin Nunez? Is there truth to it? Because we do still see him miss a few chances, but today, a huge brace for him and Liverpool. What do you make of his game today?
I think Salah appreciates his chaotic movement, because it causes a lot of chaos, right? But I mean, he's not cultured. That's the issue. And let's just assume that Mohamed Salah is not at Liverpool next season, then that pressure, assuming that Darwin Nunez would stay, and you think of him as that striker who's gonna get you 20 plus goals a season, I don't know if he can handle that. Now, of course, they're going to be looking at all this. I look at Hakpo, whom I like, who can score goals, but I still don't think that he's going to be giving you goals on the level of Mohamed Salah as well. So look, I mean, I don't want to say anything negative about Darwin Nunez, because he did exactly what was asked of him, and then some, right? I mean, very little time. He doesn't need time going into the game. If he was this sort of player, And maybe he is. I don't know that for a fact. But if he's the sort of player that can live coming off the bench, sometimes starting, pretty much the way that Darwin Nunez or Arne Slot has treated him, then I think he's a big asset for Liverpool Football Club, because he is very much capable of doing that. Right? I mean, I look at Jota as well. I mean, he comes in, scores a goal, even though he's been injured for 5, 7, 10 games. Once again, last game he came in, scored, he's injured again, and I promise you next game he's going to probably do that again. And when you put that all together, the Hakpos, the Jota, the Darwin Nunez, the Luis Diaz, but you have the consistency of Mohamed Salah, there's a reason why Liverpool are at the top, right? Because you can go look just about anywhere for those goals. But I think as a striker that you need to rely on for goals and for consistency, I still don't think that Darwin Nunez is your man.
Do they need to go somewhere in the transfer window?
Yes. Well, you mean now?
Yeah, Liverpool.
No,
yeah.
Absolutely not. No. This was no. I mean, you leaving that as it is. Liverpool are top, as you mentioned, 7 points, game in hand. They're in a good way. Found a way, and that's all that matters. By the way, deservedly so. And I just don't think that you do anything other than just find ways to put together this puzzle, right? Because it's not an easy one. Having 4 or 5 players that don't always do, but most of the time do as well. By the way, Federico Chiesa, I don't want to make too much of it, but I mean, I'm glad that he was involved. Didn't have a lot of time, couple touches here and there in those goals. He was important, the sort of player that at that moment I was thinking, you know what? If he can do it, because it's a big if, not having not to play pretty much entire season, but it's the sort of player that came in. And I thought that did enough for me to talk about it.
I mean, he came in very cheap, right? So it was always going to be a smart gamble. So he came in very cheap.
I meant more came in a game today with
I know
whatsoever. In fact, the time that he came in, you go like, yeah, really, what? But I thought that he played a part in these goals.
Yeah, no. I'm saying that from the moment he arrived to Liverpool Football Club, the gamble has always been a good one because he came in cheap. There's not necessarily a massive reliance on him. And today, as you've explained, when he comes in, if he can provide something, alleviating Liverpool's struggles to try and score a goal before Darwin Nunez makes it, then it helps him, right? So it's a smart gamble.
Yeah, but it's also maybe a little bit of a headache, right? I mean, it's these small pieces around. We talk about Salah and Nunes. I mean, those players we know a lot about, and I think they've contributed already so much to Liverpool Football Club. But for Liverpool to win it, it's those appearances, right? Harvey Elliott, so many injuries. I don't think Arne Slot trusts him yet, and I can understand that. He, haven't been out for so long, but look at the contribution in both goals. I mean, the first goal, that little pass to Trent, right? I mean, it seems easy, but you don't know if he's going to try to thread the needle there. He did in the second one, picked up the ball in the midfield, and of course assisted as well. So those are the pieces that I think are even more important than, is Trent going? Is Van Dijk going? Is Salah going? This is of course a big conversation. But that conversation is going to take place after the season. And of course, Liverpool will hope that if they are, some of them or all of them, they'll leave as Premier League champions.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you something. Those pieces will be needed because, for the next few matches, Liverpool will have the Champions League coming back. Of course, they've made it to the next round, but still, it's a competition they still have to worry about. Then it's a home game against Ipswich Town. PSV in the Champions League after that. Bournemouth, who won very well today against Newcastle United.
Ipswich somewhere there, no?
And then, what's that?
Isn't Ipswich somewhere in there?
Yeah, I started with Ipswich.
Okay,
I did the Champions League, Ipswich Town, PSV, Bournemouth, and then it's the second leg of the Carabao Cup against Tottenham on February 6th. And then it's FA Cup against Plymouth Argyle. So the reason why I'm bringing these up, Janusz, my final question to you is, it's a lot of matches, a lot of competitions. What's your advice to Arne Slot, would you say?
Look, I mean, he doesn't need my advice. I mean, he came in, into this league, and wow. I mean, I don't know if there's a better introduction, especially on the heels of someone like Jurgen Klopp. Rotations there, players getting healthy. Hopefully, Jota's going to be there. Again, that rotation is important. Managers won't tell you, but 100% in his head, he probably knows which competition he truly wants to have everybody available at their absolute best. And at least for me, that has to be Premier League, right? And I think, to answer your question, at this stage, I think he's going to look at it that way, because, I mean, position in the table in Champions League. First, I understand that, of course, this is a new edition of the Champions League, and now the last two matches, you're going to kind of sort of look who you may or may not play. We see some massive names there, right? But I think I would rotate even in the Champions League against who's first? You said Lille, right? Or yeah. So that to me shouldn't be important. I really do think that for a club like Liverpool, the biggest trophy this season is the Premier League, and it doesn't come even close. Again, this is my opinion. They'll go for all of them if possible, but you know how it is sometimes going for these trebles and quadruples, right? You can find yourself with none.
Yeah, absolutely. But the Premier League absolutely remains a massive priority. Yes, it's Lille and PSV in the final two matches for Liverpool in the Champions League. They've already made it to the next stages. But as we know, Arne Slot takes it one match at a time. In the meantime, a massive double from Darwin Nunez guarantees a Liverpool victory, guarantees 3 points in the table, 50 points. And Arsenal have to play catch up just like everybody else. Janusz, Michallik, Luis Miguel Echegaray. We'll see you next time on ESPN FC. Till then.